Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. I'm happy to be speaking with Andrew Luftglass, the lead play-by-play broadcaster for the Lake County Captains, the High A affiliate of the Cleveland Indians, and also the manager of broadcasting, media relations, and social media. Andrew, thank you so much for taking some time out to speak with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Sunil. We used to have a lot of fun back in the Can-Am, my Can-Am League days, at least with Sussex County, and coming to visit you when they were the Rockland Boulders up in New York. So I'm glad to talk to you again.
Same here, Andrew. Hey, congratulations on your success there, with Lake County, 5 years now, I believe, with the organization now. They said, you wear many hats, said many responsibilities with this team. Can you talk about, and it's great to have baseball back after, 2020, said with the COVID-19 pandemic. So I wanted to ask you, said, how are things going so far this season? And, just talk about the team as well, Andrew.
Yeah, things are going well this year. Last year was obviously really challenging, and it was weird because we didn't know from a week to week basis whether we were going to have a shortened season, whether we'd have no season at all. And for me personally, I could say, like, I have a young daughter. I have a now 21-month-old daughter. So she was
Congratulations.
born. Thank you very
I
much.
know
Yeah,
the
she
feeling
was.
very well. I'm about to have, well, both of my son and daughter are going to be, double digits. So, enjoy it while they're young. But no, congratulations again, Andrew.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And she was born fortuitous timing in
Yeah.
October 2019, so right after our season was over. And so
Okay.
for me personally, not having a season was challenging. I
Mhm.
was fortunate though, because I got to spend all of the time with my daughter
Yeah.
and raising her. I was a stay-at-home dad for the
Same
entirety of
here.
last year. So I know you know what that was like too.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's
exactly.
the work-life balance was about
Yeah,
the hardest
I
part of it,
agree.
but we made it through it. And this year, being able to be back in the ballpark and to bring my daughter back to the ballpark
Yeah.
sometime, or to the ballpark for the first time, has been cool. um it has been nice getting back in the flow.
Yeah.
It's different this year because this year we have a new setup, because Major League Baseball, as you know, took over the operation of minor league baseball. And as a kind of combination of that, and with health and safety protocols, they changed the way the scheduling structured. And so everybody, baseball fans, are familiar with the idea that you play teams on a 3 to 4 game series.
Yeah.
But this year we have a 6 game series format
Mhm.
with a common off day. So we play every Tuesday through Sunday,
Yeah.
and then we're off every Monday. And we play the same team in the same park those whole 6 days. So right now I'm talking to you in my hotel in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We're playing
Yeah.
the Padres affiliate out here
Yeah.
for 6 games, yesterday through Sunday, and then we have an off day Monday before we go to Lansing, Michigan, and play the athletics affiliate.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's honestly been really nice, because from a scheduling point of view, my family knows what my schedule is. They don't necessarily know where I'm going to be,
Yeah.
unless you're talking to my wife, who knows exactly where she's right on top of the whole schedule all year. But they know, they always know they can talk to me on a Monday. We can schedule stuff on a Monday, and it's been really, really nice.
It's great. Uh, yeah, I wanted to ask you just about actually, your day-to-day routine. What is, a normal schedule before, of course, a game, doing the play-by-play, but, what does that entail for you? I mean, I was just overlooking some of your, tasks, I mean, with social media accounts and then the blogs, writing, of course, the daily game notes and, press releases, post-game recaps, production game day programs, and then working on the website as well. Can you just talk about? I mean, it's just it's a bunch of stuff that you do. Said with the team, Andrew.
Yeah, you ran through all of it. I'm really
Yeah.
lucky to have very good help. I've got in the room with me here is my broadcast assistant, Brian McLaughlin. And
Okay.
so we work on all of this stuff together.
Yeah.
So before the game, every day we're doing our game notes, which obviously help you guys out as the writing press. They help the
Mhm.
other team's broadcasters to know our team.
Yeah.
When we're at home, we also have to do stat packs and lineups and update the rosters and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Get those printed and sent out to everybody who needs them. We do put together a pregame interview every day that we both take a video of and throw up on our captain's YouTube page
Mhm.
and tweet out the link to that every day, and then we attach that to our blog every day. So we do a pregame blog every day with the info for that day's game. Lineup graphic goes on our social media as well. And then after the game, we do a post-game recap write up that we post on our website and put on our various social media accounts too. So it's kind of
Yeah.
from a baseball perspective, kind of all-encompassing baseball information, both in terms of the entertainment broadcast aspect that goes with the pregame interview to more of a media relations side that
Mhm.
that helps out you guys in the press
Yeah.
to learn more about the team and get prepared for the game. So yeah, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the everyday job. And then there's you alluded to doing stuff like the program. There are various projects throughout the year
Yeah.
that we're constantly working on. We just had our baseball cards that we finished putting together. Those just got printed, and we have a monthly program that we're writing, and then we manage all of our social media accounts. So there's a good mix there in between the baseball stuff, the advertising, upcoming events and promotions, and just general trying to throw some cool photos and fun up there. Because it's, I don't know, the thing with social media is if you're doing nothing but selling the promotions and the events and such, then you're going to lose followers fast. You have to keep it entertaining and fun. So we're fortunate to have some good photographers who feed us with some really cool shots that we can throw up there to help I guess in an ancillary way also sell the experience, but also show how much fun we're having.
Yeah, excellent points you made, Andrew, because I wanted to ask you about the growth of social media, how much it plays such a pivotal role, like, it said with, especially, with minor league baseball. I had to ask you about how that is, grown, said significantly over the years.
It's interesting. I'll be the first to tell you that I'm the manager of social media for our
Yeah.
team, but I am by no means an expert who has studied this
Yeah.
field necessarily. But
Yeah.
from what I have gleaned in studying other teams' accounts and our own activity, our own growth throughout the last couple of years, as well as reading some things from some actual experts. My general philosophy on it is trying to have somewhere close to like an 80-20, 90-10 mix between I guess what you'd call organic content that's not actively trying to sell you something, and buy tickets for this week's series. Here's the promo schedule sort of stuff.
Mhm.
It's again, if you can think about yourself just being a fan, if every post you saw from a team was trying to get you to buy something, or if you're subscribing to a newsletter and every time you open the newsletter, they're asking you for something, you're probably going to unsubscribe pretty quickly. So it's important to give people things that they actually want before you ask them for something that you want. Was probably a pretty decent philosophy for life generally.
Yeah. Okay, when it comes to doing the play by play, I had to ask that preparation component. Just talk about that. What goes into that. I've talked to different to various broadcasters. They have their boards with all their notes and give me say quite copious. But can you talk about it said that your certain blueprint said for game day, Andrew?
Well, the nice thing with baseball is then being with a team for a baseball season is we're around them all
Yeah.
the time. Now, we weren't around them all the time for the first month or so of the season, so we
Mhm.
kind of had to approximate that by doing our interviews over Zoom.
Yeah.
But by and large, when we're with them and when we do those interviews, we're trying all the time to learn as much as we can.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the material that goes into the broadcast is stuff that maybe isn't written down. It's just kind of absorbed through osmosis from having had all these interactions with these guys and then having watched them on a day in day out basis. Especially working with my broadcast partner Brian, is we're on the same page with having learned and heard a lot of this stuff. And so if we're talking about a given player, we can often come up with an anecdote of something that we've seen or talked about with them pretty recently. We know their mannerisms. And so some of the best broadcasts, I think, come out of the things that we haven't necessarily written down, but we know from having been with the guys for so long. And then in terms of the actual physical broadcast prep, for me, that part of that is doing the game notes every day because we're always on top of, because we're writing our own game notes.
Yeah.
We intimately know the trends of all of the players. We like to go on a variety of different research tools, whether that's baseball reference. Major League Baseball has its own internal research tool, which allows us to access different splits and game logs and trends over the course of a period of time. Fangraphs.com is a fantastic resource for some of the more intricate statistics. If we're looking for rate stats on, let's say we're trying to see who has the best strikeout rate or ground ball percentage, stuff that you can't get with the standard stats that tells you more about a player's profile. So a mix of those sort of resources is important to paint a picture for people of who a player is and who you can expect them to be in as little as a given plate appearance. And I could tell you about a guy on our team who's swung at 11 of the last 13 first pitches of an at bat. And so, if he takes a pitch in that at bat, that's uncommon for him, right? So studying all of those things and being on top of our daily general game notes work that tells us those sort of stories, and then reading the stuff from the other teams because they're doing the same thing too. So when we're in Fort Wayne, their broadcasters John Nolan and Jack McMullen do a great job putting together similar resources so we can get in there day of and read up on their team and know when the three hitter comes up, here's his tendency, or here's how he's been performing lately, and we can tell our audience about that. That sort of stuff is right in front of us, and also the stuff that I think on a plate appearance by plate appearance basis we want to reference. At least I personally put a couple things in different colored pen in my book next to that guy's name so that I know to reference it if it becomes relevant.
Great. I wanted to ask you about the home games as well. Classic Park Stadium as well as the front office. You have GM Jen Yorko there, but if you just want to talk about the set upper management as well and just working with them as well, Andrew, for the past 5 years.
Yeah, it's been great. And Jen actually, this is her first full season as the GM. Before Neil Stein was the GM, and Jen was our assistant GM. Kate Roth is our assistant GM now, assisting Jen. And I would say, like, with depending on the minor league team you're working with, it's a varying sizes in front offices. We have a relatively small front office, so to use the cliched metaphor, everybody's pulling on the same rope sort of deal. There are certain times where you get asked to leave whatever your duty is to go help out with something here or there. And so I've found it to be a really nice collaborative effort with everybody throughout the course of the years. Even with that, we've had a rotation of different people in different roles over the last few years, especially with the pandemic last year, having some changeover in staff. But I've quite enjoyed it. I've never worked with a big staff. All my stops in minor league baseball have always been with small staff, so I'm very comfortable with it.
Just talk about the community, the home fans as well. Just that part of the equation as well, Andrew.
Yeah, so we're in the Cleveland area. We're only 20 minutes away from the major league club. So very, very few teams in minor league baseball can say they're that close to the big league club. So as a result, you get the fans of our team are Cleveland fans as well. So they're some of them, not all of them, but some of them who are most active on social media and most active talking to us in the ballpark, they are intimately invested in the product on the field for the captains because they know, especially we were low A, now we're a step up at high A. These guys could help the big league club in a few years, or they could be dealt in a trade that helps the big league club right now. So you get really knowledgeable fans that they'll come up and they'll ask you really pointed questions about guys like Logan Allen, who was our best pitcher, who just got called up to Double-A, about the top prospect on our team, George Valera. They want to know, has he been hitting well? What do you think about what you've seen from him so far? What makes him good? That sort of stuff is fun to engage with the fans, both on social media and especially in person. When we're at the ballpark, our season ticket holders are especially interested, and they'll talk about that sort of stuff with us. The staff members who are there every day, who don't necessarily get to see the product every day because they're working, they're curious about it too because they're fans as well.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to switch it up because I know you have a couple more gigs that said that you hold as well. When I was looking at it, it's amazing, like the experience that you have possessed. But Talk about it. I mean, play-by-play broadcaster for the Ohio State University, and then play-by-play, I think, for Stadium, the Patriot League Network, and then twice now here with Case Western Reserve University. I mean, you have covered a number, both men and women's, sports. So I wanted to ask you, first, with the Ohio State. I mean, how special is that? And then, of course, with the Big Ten Network Plus, Andrew.
Yeah, so I guess I should mention that all of those are my freelance work. So
Okay.
I'm not like fully
Okay.
employed by any of those
Yeah.
folks. But that's all to say that I have done and do some semi-consistent work with all of those. So
Yeah.
like, for example, um, you mentioned the Patriot League Network. I've
Yeah.
done freelance work with some of the schools that are on the Patriot League
Okay.
Network. So I just want to clarify that. And
No
with the
problem.
Ohio State, um, I probably do my most consistent freelance work with them and with Case Western Reserve University. So for
Okay.
Case, I do their home football games, which is really nice. I've actually gotten to know their sports information director, John Schwartz, is a great guy, and
Mhm.
brought me on after I'd worked with his predecessor a few years prior doing some basketball and soccer. And so he brought me on when I first came here to Cleveland. Dave Wilson, who had been the original voice of the Captains, and then the voice of Case football, left actually my first year when I got here, left to do D2 football with Ashland University. And so when he left for that, there was an opening at Case. And I've quite enjoyed doing their football games, and they'll call me to do like a wrestling conference meet. They asked me to do once, and soccer tournament and that sort of stuff. But great folks over at Case. The football team's been very good, nationally ranked over the last several years, and it's a really professional TV style broadcast, especially for a Division III school. We do a TV style pregame studio show with the head coach, and it's again for D3, pretty big to have a 3-camera setup with a producer. Our production staff does a really great job over there, and so yeah, it's not a big gig, 5 home games every fall, but I really enjoy doing it, and have the last few years. Obviously couldn't last year because the pandemic shut down the season, and Ohio State was kind of fortuitous, like as freelance broadcasters know, like a lot of what you end up doing during your downtime is cold emailing, reaching out to people to see if there's an opening to do a game here or there. And frankly, like after a couple of years of just checking in to see if there was anything going on at Ohio State, they broadened. The Big Ten Network has done a great job. The Big Ten as a conference
Yeah.
has done a really nice job broadening their coverage of sports, to the point where what they're trying to do is they're trying to build their student broadcasting infrastructure, which Brian, my broadcast partner, is a product of it, from Penn State. But as a result of covering so many of those sports, not every school has a big enough staff of student broadcasters to cover all their games. So as a result, they need fill-in. And once Ohio State started to expand its broadcast offerings and needed some freelance broadcasters to come in and fill some games, that's when Stacey Keller, who's now with the Philadelphia Eagles, but was staffing with Ohio State at the time. She shot me an email, and I've worked with Marisha Gibson since. And they basically had me on to do mostly women's hockey and gymnastics, which is cool because I've been a big hockey fan for a long time. I grew up as a Devils fan in New Jersey, and I played and coached high school hockey in New Jersey, so it was super cool for me to do high level women's college hockey, which I have a serious fondness for. In Ohio State, we've gotten to see some of the top teams in the country, and they play Wisconsin and Minnesota regularly. So that was a lot of fun. And gymnastics I had never done before, but after having done hockey with Ohio State, Marisha emailed me and asked me if they said they're going to try to do gymnastics for the first time,
Mhm.
and asked if I had ever done it before. And my wife, actually, who was a gymnast in high school and college, she opened the email before I could. And she said, "Did you know, like, you have the chance to do gymnastics?" And she was all about it, and I was all about the opportunity to try something new.
Yeah.
So she insisted that I give it a shot, and I certainly wasn't going to pass up the chance. And it's honestly been one of the favorite sports that I've done. It's really cool. It's really different. The biggest difference is that me, like, as very much not an expert in the sport, my role is less play-by-play and more of like hosting the game and handing things off to the color analyst, who I will always accept knows more about the sport than I do. And so it's been fun and rewarding and engaging to be able to learn through my color analysts about the sport and to get to know about the sport through the coaches and the athletes that we've interviewed leading up to meet day. So that's been fun. It's funny, like I love hockey, but it's in a way I've kind of enjoyed doing the gymnastics more out of the two sports I've done at Ohio State because it's been a cool learning experience.
That's terrific. Yeah, I didn't want to forget as well that Notre Dame College as well. I saw that you do work for as well, freelance work. Before we came on there, we were talking about reminiscing about the Can-Am League days. It said 2015 to 16. It said again doing play-by-play for the minors. 97 games in 4 months. Unbelievable how they just said stack that. But director of broadcasting media relations. I mean, for a team, inaugural team in the Can-Am League, that was I was thinking to myself, quite a huge undertaking what you were able to do. And I think what's just terrific about it is that it was just not about broadcasting. You were involved with everything, sales as well. I mean, can you talk about that? And then of course, social media, video production. When it comes down to it's writing, it's technical skills. There's so much that is involved. You've been able to dive into all those areas. Can you just talk about that, Andrew?
Yeah, so I guess first of all, you mentioned right off the bat that this was an inaugural first year
Yeah.
ball club. So getting everything off the ground in a short period of time, frankly, I wouldn't. There's no chance I would have been able to do it without the support of the rest of our front office staff, and we were very fortunate to have a good staff led by a longtime baseball man. So Dave Chase is one of my favorite mentors, my closest friends in the business. Dave is a fantastic human being who at the time when he led the minors was in, I believe, his 40th year in professional baseball. He started in the Braves organization, working directly for Henry Aaron as the GM of one of their low-level minor league clubs. So he's been in a long time, and Dave's just I can't say enough about him as a human being. And he mentored me and mentored Tyler Borkowski was our assistant GM that year. So with Tyler and Dave helping to kind of lay the groundwork for the first year of minors baseball, it was, again, can't say enough about what they did to help us get to the finish line in year one and lay the groundwork for the rest of that organization. I know Justin Ferrarella is doing a fantastic job, and he was learning directly under Dave as well that year. We had about 2.5 months or so, at least from the time that I was brought on until opening day, to get what you mentioned, the video production off the ground. And so what we were in charge of was that year was the first year the Can-Am League had a video, a television, basically like MLB TV is and MILB TV is. It was the first time they had their own streaming TV program, and every team was supposed to be part of that. And our charge was to put together not only a product that was acceptable by the league, but that was of high enough quality that it could compete with the best teams in the league, even as a first-year operation. So frankly, within a 2-month span, I am, again, as I said about social media, I'm not an expert in video production. So we shopped around and talked to experts in the area, and we came to actually folks that you probably know pretty well with the Boulders. Jim Houston runs a television production company, and his son John is a great technical director and producer as well. And we ended up working with them for that first season just to get things off the ground. We knew we'd be in good hands with them. They could set up all of the logistics, the infrastructure with running the cable, setting up the cameras. They owned and operated the equipment. I knew I could rely on John every day as the technical director to run the show. And so really my job, honestly, once we got them in place, was just to staff everybody around them and have a schedule of all of our folks working in the press box, running the video board, operating the cameras and such like that. And John really ran the show every single day. So I can't thank him and his staff enough for doing a great job and making sure we had a good professional TV broadcast, because I couldn't get that off the ground in 2 months without them. And then our part-time staff that worked the in-game entertainment did a great job too, because again, all I had to do was schedule them. I helped to write the game script for our between innings entertainment and such, but definitely needed their assistance to run the show because I was
Yeah.
doing the broadcast during the game. Essentially, what we did was we would have a meeting before every game to go over the game script of the entertainment and make sure everybody was on the same page so that John could direct everything going on from the TV to the video board, because
Yeah.
John was basically in charge of running both shows at one time. He would direct what went live to the video board and what went live on the TV broadcast simultaneously.
Mhm.
So again, we were working with some great people there, and honestly, some of the people who were there, I know we didn't work with, or the miners didn't work. I was gone at the time. Didn't work with John and their production company after year one, but our part timers actually ended up, people who were part-time and video operators, video camera operators that year ended up taking the reins, at least in year two. I'm not sure what they've done since then, but in setting up the infrastructure and running the show internally in the next year or two after that. So that was really challenging,
Yeah,
really
I
tough,
know.
but again, we had great help.
I was gonna say I was looking, with the internet broadcast. So yeah, I mean, just ordering that equipment and just, as you said, the intros, commercial. I mean, there was so much that went into it, but it just, just fabulous. I mean, just what you guys were able to do, and again, it said, uh, have a successful first season, and just to see what the miners have done, since that point, now, I said, on and off the field, and especially, winning Can-Am League championship, their first, said, back in 2018, moment I'll never forget.
I watched
Was
that
there
walk off
personally to
over and
witness
over
and
again.
take the video of Martin Figueroa hitting a walk off 3-run homer in the ninth inning. That was just, something, I said that will always be in the memory bank. I have a couple more for you, Andrew. I wanted to ask you as well. Some of you, I mean, you've traveled, said the circuit, been all over the place. I had to ask you, also, being, said, doing play-by-play in color for the Brevard, County Manatees as well. Can you talk about that? And then, of course, we talked about the Can-Am League. You worked, say, in their league offices as well. And then I think your first gig, said was with the Burlington Royals. Can you just, I mean, those, it said, you're able to accomplish quite a bit, said with those teams as well.
Yeah, let me just, I guess, start. So I actually started, like you said, with Burlington. And
Yeah.
the reason I worked in the Can-Am League office was because I got hired to be the broadcaster for Burlington, which was the rookie level affiliate
Hmm.
of the Kansas City Royals at the time. And it was an unpaid internship. And I basically said, I'm not from North Carolina.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to survive
Yeah.
down here during the summer without some sort of income.
Yeah.
Um, and so I asked Dan Mushan and Miles Wolf, they were the leadership with Burlington, what can I do? And so
Hmm.
they were the president and vice president of the Burlington Royals, but they also were the commissioner and president of the American Association and Can-Am League. And they said, well, we're actually looking for help in the office. So my day job was being the administrative assistant in that league office,
Hmm.
filing paperwork and running the websites and
Yeah.
the social media and stuff,
Yeah.
and the day-to-day mundane tasks of making sure the transactions are all in place and
Yeah.
that the rules are all being followed. So I did that from about 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then I'd shoot over to the ballpark every night and get ready for the game. So I did that for 2 summers, and then with Brevard County, that was kind of the next stepping stone. Like I had done solo, I was a solo broadcaster in Burlington, and to be perfectly honest with you, did nothing media relations wise. And so I had a lot to learn when I didn't even do game notes when I was at Burlington. I didn't know what game notes were. And so I got to work with Dave Walkovic and Justin Rock in Brevard County. Justin and I were co-assistants to Dave, who's now director of sales, I believe, for Louisville FC in the USL, and Justin's the lead broadcaster for the Daytona Tortugas, the Reds Low A in Low A in Florida. And so we worked together, and I learned a lot about doing the media relations side of things with game notes and the various other press aspects you heard me talk about with the captain. So that was a big learning experience summer for me, to be an assistant under Dave working with Justin and learn how to do the other part that wasn't just the broadcasting. And that's kind of what laid the groundwork for having the opportunity to get the job in Sussex County, which of course was also in part because I had worked in the league before. I had mentioned Dave Chase was our GM in Sussex County, and I actually got to know Dave through, I had mentioned Dan Mouchon before. Dan and Dave were friends prior to that, and I had connected with Dave during my years in Burlington. So yeah, it's certainly a web of connections there
Yeah.
throughout the course of those years, and learning opportunities that helped out in getting there.
Yeah. All right, let's take it back to Denisonian. Is it? You can probably correct me on
Yeah.
that. I said that's a tongue twister. Or Denison University. I'm sorry. You got to work both, not only on the print side, for the school newspaper, but also for the sports network. My jaw dropped when I saw that you broadcast for 10 different, campus athletic teams. I mean, can you talk about that? Having that, combination of both, the print and broadcast, and being able to, attain those skills, while attending the university, Andrew.
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing I'll say is that I went into college knowing that I probably wanted to do something in sports media, but I had literally no experience doing broadcasting ever,
Yeah.
outside of sitting on my couch muting the TV and practice calling games.
Mhm.
But I had done quite a bit of newspaper work in high school.
Okay.
I worked for the school newspaper in high school and interned at the town newspaper in the sports department.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to try to broadcast, and that I could write if the opportunities were available. And I got lucky that the sports editors there were in need of some extra help. Mike Garabedian and Christian Payne were a year or two, they're both a year above me, and they were the sports editors at the time, so they needed a staff writer, and I just kind of grew from staff writer to assistant editor, and I was the editor in chief as a senior.
Yeah.
And then with broadcasting, like I said, I'd literally never done it before in any sort of quasi-professional capacity.
Yeah.
But I knew when I got to school there that they had just started the Denison Sports Network, which I think the year before they had started it. So it was kind of burgeoning. They didn't have any video at all at the time. And they had just kind of gotten the equipment and gotten a couple students here and there to do a few games where available. But I knew that it was starting, and so there might be opportunities. And I literally went down to the SID's office, and I talked with the assistant SID, Jason Miller, and he told me later that I sounded so nervous and so unsure. He thought I was going to be terrible. I was pleasantly surprised when I was not. I had one tryout broadcast doing women's basketball with a guy who became a friend of mine at Denison. Kale Garbrick, I think, was my broadcast partner that day. We did a game into a tape recorder. We didn't do anything live, and that was just a tryout. Yeah. It worked out pretty well. I ended up doing, I guess, over the course of the years there, men's and women's soccer, field hockey, football, men's and women's basketball, baseball, softball, men's and women's lacrosse, and I don't think I'm forgetting anything there.
Yeah.
But it was a blast, and I learned a lot from, I mentioned Jason and Craig Hicks was my sports information director for my 4 years there. Craig and I are still close, and he just actually retired from being an SID to pursue another opportunity. So he's had a great career in sports information, and one of the best. So yeah, I was fortunate to have a lot of opportunities because I went to such a small school. So even though I wasn't at a school that had like the infrastructure that I mentioned before, like schools in the Big Ten have with their BTN Student U, I had a lot of one-on-one training and a lot of, like I said, a lot of reps, because there weren't very many of us who were pursuing this in any sort of real way. It was pretty much me and a couple other people who were interested in maybe trying to make it a career. We were also the same guys who were doing the sports department at the paper. And outside of that, it was, students who thought it might be cool to try, and we were kind of shepherding along, and they were kind of doing it as a hobby. So basically whatever games we wanted to do, we could do, which was fun.
I had to ask you, the first game that you ever broadcast, what what was that moment like, just preparing, and then just during the course of a game, I had to ask you, if you just remember that moment, fondly, Andrew.
I'll give you two. So the
Okay.
one that I did that was the tryout was
Yeah.
basketball, and to be honest, as I was honest with you about having done no game notes when I
Yeah,
was at Burlington,
yeah,
I didn't know what prep was. I didn't do spotting boards. I memorized. I'm pretty good at flash memory, and so I memorized the rosters, the names and numbers for both teams, and
yeah,
went over the stats and highlighted stuff. And that was my prep. And I remember this was the basketball game that again we didn't do a tape recorder,
yeah,
and I remember the tip went up, the throw went up for the tip ball, and I had this like half a second of, oh no, what do I do? How do I do this? And then the ball, I don't know, they started passing the ball around, and
yeah,
I guess I kind of fell into whatever I had been doing on my
yeah,
couch at home
yeah.
practicing. And it felt pretty natural right out of the gate, even though I
Mhm.
obviously had a lot to learn and a lot to improve on. But it once the play started happening, I felt
Yeah,
pretty comfortable with the pace of the game, and that was really comforting to know that I wasn't lost when the play was going on, and I knew what to do and what to say, I guess. But where I did feel super lost was my first baseball game. I had played baseball my whole life. Probably most of my practice broadcasts, as I mentioned on my couch, were doing baseball.
mhm,
But I went down with the team. I actually, at Denison, I tried out for the team and did not make it. So I knew the team really well. And I had done some basketball over the course of the winter. And the SIDs, again, Craig and Jason, they approached me and they said, "Hey, the team knows you well. We think you do a good job. Do you want to go down with the team for their spring trip to Georgia and Florida?" So I said, "Yeah, sure." Like I have no ambitions of doing anything of like partying during spring break. I'd rather go call baseball. So I went down with the team, and we get to Georgia, and we're playing a team in Atlanta. I think there's Oglethorpe University. I want to say it was the college. To be honest with you, I'd have to Google to see if that was the right school or if that's the school. But I remember distinctly being behind home plate at like a loose side table with four legs and my equipment and my scorebook, and the game starts, and I obviously have my scorebook, but I didn't have a diagram of the field. Like I didn't know. I could tell you who was at first, second, third,
yeah,
short, left, right, center, etc.
yeah,
um, but only by looking at the batting lineup. And so if a ball's hit to second base and you're trying to find who the second baseman is scanning down your lineup,
yeah,
it's not exactly rapid recognition.
yeah,
So that was the first time I kind of had a panic moment where I was like, oh gosh, I have to figure out a way to diagram who's in the field
yeah,
defensively every game. It's kind of like a duh sort of moment now that I've been doing it for a while, as the like doing the game notes and doing spotting boards are. But it was part of the learning experience and learning on the fly as I
yeah.
did in the first few years there.
Okay, attended and graduated Montclair High School. Can you talk about your time there as well? Andrew, and also that you, I think, I don't know, it was during that time, but during high school, or I don't know afterwards, that also you were doing play-by-play for the Jersey Pilots as well.
Yeah, so I did Jersey Pilots right before I got the job with the Burlington Royals.
Oh,
So I
okay,
did one
okay,
one
all right,
year. It was 2011, right before my
okay,
first year in Burlington. Ben
yeah,
Smokler was our GM, and I just I packed up my Ford Taurus station wagon with a little card table, and my broadcast equipment was my
yeah,
phone, my iPhone, and a plug-in headset that I plugged into my phone, and I called
yeah,
the dial-in number at Team Line to connect to our broadcast every day. It was very low tech.
yeah,
But I was with the Jersey Pilots for one summer,
okay,
and then in high school I didn't, like I said, I didn't have much broadcasting
yeah,
experience, but I played baseball and hockey, and was fortunate enough to become close friends with my hockey coach. I coached with him later after, actually it was before and after my year with Brevard County at my high school in Montclair. But the only media experience I had there at all was doing the newspaper,
yeah,
the student newspaper, the Mountaineer. So we had our newspaper director was our teacher in journalism, Mr. Rassiopi, and our editor in chief for the newspaper was Emily Kaplan, who's now does a fantastic job. I'm a big hockey fan, and she does a great job covering the sport for ESPN. So I wish I could tell you worked super closely with Emily, and that she taught me so much. But I don't remember much from my high school
Yeah.
days at the Mountaineer. But I worked with Emily and with a good staff at the Mountaineer, kind of learning the basics of journalism and journalism ethics, and then interned under Brian Smith, who was the sports editor at the Montclair Times for basically the summer of my senior year. And so that was fun. That was I guess what I would say about that was it was a good early education in, as I said, journalism and journalism ethics
Yeah.
and how to write, because to bring it back to today, I write every day. Brian and I are writing every single day the game recap. And so literally just learning things like, hey, what's AP style was pretty decent, pretty decent education for
Yeah.
getting into college and doing the college newspaper and writing every day here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what broadcasters do you look up to? Are there, anyone's out there that you follow on a particular basis, Andrew?
Yeah, I guess so. In sports generally, probably one of the reasons that I got into broadcasting, I realized as I got older, was I grew up a big Devils fan, and Doc Emmerich was the Devils play-by-play guy. So hard to ask for a better guy to watch every single day, and to learn, again through osmosis, to kind of learn the craft through. So I'd say Doc Emmerich's probably my number one guy I look up to. I like listening to a lot of guys in baseball right now. I frequently find myself listening to games on the West Coast, which is great because when we get back from a road game, especially, I can turn on a West Coast game when I'm driving home from the ballpark at Classic Park. I frequently have a West Coast game on for a couple innings. I really enjoy John Miller, of course, one of the greats in the game with the Giants. He does a splendid job. I love his pace, and his smooth, calm style. Rick Riz is the broadcaster for the Seattle Mariners. I think he's fantastic as well. Ken Korak does a great job with the Oakland A's. Those are probably the three guys in baseball that I follow and listen to the most closely. John Miller obviously is, as I said, one of the all-time greats. And again, I appreciate his pace. Rick Riz, I think, does about as good a job as anybody at describing every single batted ball in play, varying his verbiage and word usage, I think, is terrific. And Ken Korak is a fantastic conversationalist. I mean, they frequently will run a three-man booth in Oakland, which is a tough task in radio. So those are the three I listen to probably the most frequently and look up to in the game right now.
Great. Uh, we talked about family before. I mean, can you just talk about the support? I mean, this is not easy. Of course, what you do. I mean, I said spending so much time away. Said from your wife and daughter. But can you just talk about? I mean, how much they've meant to you. Said through this journey.
Yeah, and there's no question. I mean, I guess I'll start with when I was first coming up in the business. To be perfectly frank with you, I was pretty petrified of the idea of how challenging it might be to have a family in this business. I mean, I actually had a heart to heart with my dad one day when we were driving around North Carolina. And I was like, am I gonna be able to do this? It's tough to hold a relationship, and he set my mind at ease, and I got very lucky to find a wonderful woman who's become a fantastic wife and mother, in Amanda. Her emotional support has always been terrific, and what she does for our family on a day-to-day basis when I'm on the road or when I'm just going crazy during the season, supporting me emotionally last year when we didn't have a season. I can't say enough about it. She's in New Jersey right now with our daughter, taking care of her and the dog, and she's just fantastic. There have been obviously times, as any of us have in our careers, where we wonder if we're cut out for this or if we can do this. And she's always been the first one to say, like, you need to keep doing this. You love to do it. You do a great job with it. And I won't let you stop trying. And that means so much. I mean, I can't tell you, in addition to obviously all of the stuff she does logistically during the busy season. So I have a wonderful support system at home with my wife Amanda, my daughter Maya, and yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I'm getting a little emotional here because it's
No, it's
no, like I said, before I had this family, I wasn't sure if it would be a possibility, and to be able to do what I love with the people I love, it's super special.
I didn't want to forget your parents as well, and any other new family members as well. I said I know it's.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have, I said a great support system there, Andrew. And that's tremendous. My
Yeah,
final
my
question.
before I let you
Yeah,
go, my no,
go.
before you're right, because my before I met Amanda, like my mom and dad,
Yeah,
supported me every time
yeah,
they always visited me whenever, and encouraged me to leave home, which is a tough thing to do,
yeah,
and supported me wherever I went, which
yeah,
was huge.
yeah. No, that's wonderful. A final question for you, and I think you're in a perfect position to do this. What is your advice for younger, print broadcast journalists that want to break into this field, that want to move up the ladder? I think, I said you can offer quite a bit, said of advice to them and what your message is to them.
Yeah, reach number one, I guess, is reach out to other professionals in the industry and talk to and get to know as many people as you can in an earnest and kind way. I think it's really easy to it's really easy to always be asking for something, but it's important to make sure you're keeping in touch with people, not always asking for a favor. Um, People who've been in the business for a while will be willing to talk to you. The nicer ones in the industry will be willing to talk to you, and give you advice or just catch up. So that's number one. And I think number two, get reps as much as you can, but don't do so in a way that jeopardizes um, your your life and your ability to earn money. Like the so tough to tell people to get reps but to not do it for free, because there are too many, as you know, doing in print journalism, there are too many outlets and too many places that say, yeah, we'll give you the chance but we can't pay you.
Yeah,
Know your value, because it's super easy to say, well, I'm getting these chances, and then you spend hours on end preparing to do the thing that you love to do, and either not being compensated or not being compensated adequately. um, you spend, if I'm doing a broadcast and I'm only being paid $50 for the broadcast, I'm not doing $50 worth of work for the broadcast. Even though the broadcast might take 2 hours, I'm doing 10, 12 hours of prep in the week leading up, and that adds up. So understand your time, manage your time properly, value your work properly, and get your reps, but don't do it at the expense of um, again of your earning potential, and your work life balance is really important.
it's great. Okay, Andrew, the floor is yours. If I've left anything out, you're more than, free, said to add to it. You
No,
got the
that's
last word.
that's no, that's okay. My last word is going to be, I miss seeing you. Hopefully I'll see you again soon, Sunil, and
Yeah.
I'm going to get some lunch before this game.
All right, let's end it. A true honor and privilege, interviewing you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And again, wishing you continued success with the Lake County Captains as we go on here in the season. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sunil.